Okay, well, welcome. We appreciate you for coming out. I'm Brett Williams, Board President for Killeen Independent School District. The purpose of this meeting tonight is to get public input on the formation of a job description for our next superintendent. When I say job description, the intangible things that you think are important. As a board, we wanted to make it a priority to do as many public events as possible to allow you to provide input to us. We have James Guerrero here today with JG Consultants. He is going to take you through this exercise of how you can provide input and all the other steps you can do. As a board, we've also submitted several names for various people in the community and groups to meet with our firm about what's important to them for the next superintendent to possess in terms of traits. And once again, just trying to get as much input as possible. What I've communicated to everyone that I have an opportunity to is that this process is so important because it will build a candidate profile. And if we are true to who we are going to hire someone who fits that candidate profile. So this is your opportunity to help build that profile, which will ultimately drive who becomes the next superintendent for Killeen Independent School District. So we appreciate you being here. Before I turn it over, I want to acknowledge Oliver Mintz, also one of our board members who's in attendance today. Thank you, Mr. Mintz, for all your hard work. Our interim superintendent of schools, Ms. Bradley, thank you for being here. And I saw her, but I don't see her anymore. Anjanette Wilkerson was somewhere. Anjanette Wilkerson, who's with Community Relations, is also here. So I appreciate my fellow colleague on the board as well as our administration for being here. So now we'll turn it over to James.
Thank you. Thank you, Board President Williams, and thank you, Trustee Mintz and Interim Superintendent Bradley. I see some familiar faces. We were here, or I was here, with a colleague earlier in the week conducting a very similar engagement. So we're referring to these as town hall meetings. This is number 2 of 3. So we have one final town hall meeting scheduled for next week on the 10th. You may see some of our staff representing JG Consulting in the spirit of these stakeholder meetings. So we refer to them in many ways. A town hall meeting for us is also a stakeholder meeting. So to echo what Board President Williams says and has shared to begin tonight's discussion, the purpose of these meetings is to develop a meaningful leadership profile inclusive of all your input and your feedback. So your words are important. You will actually see your words captured and synthesized within that leadership profile. And that's synonymous with the job description. So as candidates are considering this position to serve as your next superintendent, they will look at the job description, that leadership profile, which we will encourage the board and all of the board as a committee of the whole to use that job description as the North Star. In totality, what do you hope and aspire for KISD? Hopes and aspirations, things you're hoping for by way of recruiting the next superintendent and what he or she can accomplish for this district.
It would be valuable to have someone that I have my braces on sometimes that if they were to leave the district, that they have an organization where we don't need someone like yourself, respectively. I want a stronghold within KSD where we can say we have the people we need to get the job done. And again, this is not to disrespect you, you're here for a reason, but I do feel like our ability to do it ourselves is a stronghold. It speaks for itself and it says we're capable. We have the best people working for us. And I think that would really be important. Build us in a way where we don't need these outside sources because we're strong within.
Of course, the primary concern is children's safety, make sure that we're doing everything we can. The school board is doing everything they can to keep kids safe. Also, if the board is listening to the parents, cooperating with the parents on issues about their kids. Because the parents are the parents of the kids, not the school and not the school board. Also, there was a lot of talk last school year, or during this school year also, about special needs kids their needs not being met. What we can do, or what the school board can do to make
special needs, those students who require special services, so under the auspice of special education. And then we're using those resources to maximize their full potential.
Yes, my hope and aspiration for KISD is that the school board and whomever we decide as the new superintendent, that they would finally give all the staff the raise that they deserve, so that all the employees do not have to work 2 and 3 jobs to feed their families, because right now it is ridiculous. They need a raise to where they can maintain on one job, one income.
Hello everyone, good evening. Yes, what's really big for me is that we have hired a superintendent that will oversee a hiring process that ensures the highest, most qualified, most capable, the best candidate possible goes into those positions. And so I say that with history on one side and looking forward. Because I know you said, don't bring up, but the history is what brings us here today.
Sure.
And that's what's important. It's going to help us to feel more comfortable and confident in our school superintendent, knowing that we know that they're watching over and making sure we have the best possible people in the positions that are needed to provide the services that are needed for our school.
We got to make sure that we're continuously improving our process, and that means our grades. The district overall rating needs to continuously improve immediately, and so there's got to be focus on that. And I know there is. There's continuous improvement, but I want to see a leader that drives us towards strategic decision making that gets us there. It gets us there quickly, and that means hard choices. I want to make sure that we've got a culture where people feel inclusive, and where they are not afraid to say, I need something. I'm talking about all the administrators, the staff. That's the kind of, we need a culture where that happens. And then my last point, I've said it before, and somebody may have heard me mention it, but support for discipline in the classroom. Everybody wants that. And I mean, not one person in this community says they don't want that, because we want our children to read, we want our children to be good in math, science, English, and we get there when we have a solid foundation of being able to read and having the teachers that can focus on them. And so yes, that is hard to do sometimes when there's distractions in the classroom, and because there's not the proper support for discipline. I hear it time and again, and I'm going to keep talking about it. And I'm going to keep focused on it because I'm a parent and I care about this community. Thank you. That's our superintendent to be focused on that.
And I actually went to Maynard when it was a junior high, way back. Then it became a middle school. Lived here 58 years. I would like to see a superintendent that comes here that has no ties whatsoever to our community. No ties, because I've lived here 58 years. And I think that we don't have to have someone coming here that is affiliated with us in any way, shape, or form, other than being a superintendent and being the top-notch person we need. So that's really my hope and aspiration there.
A product of Boggarts Elementary, Maynard Middle School, Ellison High School. I worked in the district and I work for another district. I'd like to see a superintendent that has kids first. I mean, a true focus on our students, and no one who has ties to this community, that they come in with a fresh perspective, they listen to the community, transparency, and it's about students. What matters are our kids. Can they read? I can tell you in this district, I feel like we fall short with our programs in reading for dyslexia students at the elementary level, causes a lot of problems at the middle school level. As a middle school principal, former middle school principal, I see that. People need to be able to look at data, question the staff, hold people accountable, and make sure it's about kids. Always back to what's best for kids, not what's best for Joe because they need a contractor, this and that, or what's best for a vendor, to get product into this district. What's best for kids. Kids should always be the focus of our superintendent.
So points of pride, if we may. So what are the things you're most proud of? What can we share and convey on your behalf with candidates to help us celebrate you and share all the terrific things that are taking place in Killeen ISD?
The students, the staff, the parents, the community. You can brag on us all day long because we are the best. And we have extremely high expectations. And so I think that's where you may feel some of the pressure, is because we want more. And so you can let them know that we are a community of exceptional people that expect and want, and will provide support to exceptional leadership.
It's diversity, absolutely diversity. The military child, the kid that was born and raised here, and the kids that come in, it's about our diversity. That is our strength. You can go, and I'm just going to share my experience. Military community, go into the Austin area, very different. They have issues that we don't have here. Kids just accept each other, and it's just amazing. So our strengths are our kids and our families here. They truly do care about other kids. So that's our selling point. And then we've got just the community that supports our military, and our military that supports our community.
Recognize our students when they do well, award them when they do well in their accomplishments.
Comment. Retired military, I already mentioned father, but father of three who've come through the various levels of schools in the school district here. And I had a chance to be part of representing the nearly 30,000 military-connected kids in this community. And the diversity, knowing that 80% of our students are minority, with military that come and go in and out, just like myself and my family did over the last 12 years, is something that we need to say and celebrate. Because, I said the other night, this needs to be, our school district has got to be the jewel. It's got to be the world-class education, so that the military that comes and goes, the people that may want to live here in Central Texas, not down towards different parts, north or south, know that this is a fantastic place to be when they look up on great schools, they look up all of our ratings, they talk to people, they call people. We say this is why you want to gravitate to this area. And so that's to me is something we need to celebrate, is our diversity in total, and the fact that we are located to such a large military base right here in our backyard is an important aspect of who we are as a community.
The area here gives, especially I think the teachers. I know teachers firsthand that have given kids coats, shoes, bought things for students and stuff like that. That people will literally give here so they have nothing, and then give more. This community, from way back, we had a lot of tragedy in this area. And over that time period, the community's always come together, always stood up for each other, always gave, always covered each other's back. And it's a unique community. I was born in Fort Hood. This area is unlike any other part of the country as far as I'm concerned. Very patriotic. People support our military here. They support a lot of things here that are good for us. And I think a superintendent, if they came through here, or a person looking for a job here came through here, they would see that firsthand, just driving around. There are people out here, you see people, it doesn't matter what color they are, coming together and doing things together, helping each other out. So that's one thing I think is very important.
Take over, because the flip side of the coin are areas for improvement. So we can approach them in two ways: challenges, areas for improvement, but again, tying it to the recruitment of the superintendent. And what I would suggest is perhaps let's frame it this way. In the first 90 days on the job as the incoming superintendent, what are the areas that will require immediate attention? So the biggest room in the house is always the room for the most improvement. What would you do in the superintendent's shoes in your first 90 days to help achieve those areas of improvement, accomplish those things to reach your desired hopes and aspirations?
The most important thing is to get into our schools and get our discipline under control. We need someone that is going to have the guts to get in there and do something maybe different than what any of the rest of the school districts are doing across the nation as well as the state. We want someone that's going to come in and try to put a stronghold, not necessarily to put kids out of school or any of those things, but let's come up with some innovative ideas and some ways to really get discipline under control, because with that happening, we're going to be able to get into the schools, do anything we need to with the students. The next part of that, I think, is to make sure that everything across the board is happening basically the same way in our schools and all of the schools. because we are a military community. It is very difficult for a child to leave a school on post and then go to another school downtown and they're doing something completely different, which doesn't make sense. If I'm in 3rd grade for the first half of the semester and I go to 3rd grade on downtown, I should not feel lost. I'm making A's and B's there, and then I come here and I'm completely flunking. That doesn't make sense. So really making sure that across the board, our administrators, our teachers, support staff, everyone, that we're trying to stay on the same board. It's a lot of schools, but we have to make sure that we are all flowing, ebb and flow across the board the same way.
For this district, and I'm going to say policies and procedures, because even as an employee, going and knocking on a door to see if the child's there, and then have the parent say, well, I was at such and such school last year, and they didn't do it that way. How come they're doing it this way at this school this year? So we hear a lot of that. We have 53 schools in this district, and there's 53 ways of doing everything. And so we would like to have some consistency with policy procedures, regulations, and things of that nature.
I do believe that, I'll use my children as an example, that they are both routinely held back from learning because the teacher is spending most of her time dealing with behavioral issues. And the same thing you were hearing over and over again is, my hands are tied, my hands are tied. And so when she's speaking about policy and procedure, and you were speaking about behavioral issues, they do need to come together and find something. I understand that a child being suspended is a loss of $10,000 a day for the school, or whatever the number is. I get it. But at the same time, when we have board members saying that the purpose of the school is to teach, you cannot teach a classroom when these behavioral issues are making it impossible. And our system is crumbling because of these issues. I would recommend anyone, if they have the chance, to become a substitute. Do it once a month. Do yourself that favor, because everything would make sense. Because we need a strong emphasis that we need something better for all of the students collectively to get back on pace, to be on schedule. I mean, COVID itself was already a problem, right? But then now we're coming back, and the behavioral, it's bad. It's out of control.
I agree with what everybody has said, but discipline is definitely an issue. Special education. First 90 days, you need to look at special education. I think the superintendent that comes in, data from the school district, kids that are suspended, what's their reading level? I'm going to go back to, as a former middle school principal, the challenges you have at middle school and high school. Most of the time, the kids cannot read. If we can invest in our kids at the elementary level and provide strong programs, kids want to do well. But if they can't read and they're sitting in class, that's why they're misbehaving. And then they take away from the kids that want to be there, who want to learn. Those kids want to learn too, they just don't know how to communicate. That's what I'm saying. We go back to our resources. It's about kids. So I'd like to see a superintendent that comes in, looks at the special education department, and make sure that the people in that area are experts in their area. Do you have a background, and can you look at the problem and provide valid solutions and not a Band-Aid approach? And then make sure you're transparent to say, yes, these are the issues. Tell the community, have the community help us, but don't try to hide what the problems are.
I think that one major issue that this community has is the drug problem. Our kids are vaping. Drug problem. Our kids are vaping out of this world. How do I know? Because I volunteered at Gateway, our permanent school. I've been there for 7 years. That is the #1 topic that the kids talk about. They're vaping all over the place. I believe that we can get back to when I was in school, our biggest thing was sex education. We had sex education class all the time. We had films, we had, just in your face all the time about the subject that we're dealing with. Some kind of way, we got to be able to talk to our kids about drugs and the effects of drugs. And we don't have to hit them to where it's going to kill you, it's going to do all that, because they get defensive and they think they know everything. Just teach them about it. And the ones that's on the fence, they'll get off that fence. But a lot of them is using the drug as a way of coping from parental problems, home family problems, stress in the schools. They're dealing with all the things that they're dealing with. They focus on the vaping. They're vaping in the school, they're vaping out of the school, they're vaping in the bathroom. All the security we got going on, our kids are still vaping. Our kids are vaping out of the world, and they say they do it. Some say they don't know why they do it. They just do it because their friends are doing it. No one talks to them about it. So I just changed it and say, you know what, I'm not going to tell you that it's bad for you. I'm gonna say, let's do home, y'all got phones, Google it, and see what's the effects of it. And then you hear the one say, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know it affects me like this. We gotta teach them that. We're educated society. Why are we not teaching about some of the problems that the kids are having?
The superintendent come in and do is exactly what's happening right now. I need to know that he will listen to the community, to student groups, teacher groups, not depend on the people who maybe directly or very close to the top, depend on him. They can't tell him that he or she what they need to hear because they're concerned that it makes them look bad or feel bad. We can tell them. We'll let them know real quick, these are the things that are happening here. If you listen to people who you have hired and they're in particular positions, it's not very appealing for them to say, oh, this is happening on our campus because it makes them look bad. But I would like for them to, like I said, just reach out. Student group, somebody that's willing to come on down, come with us, be a part of us, and know that we're willing to grow this together. This is for us.
I want someone that's multifaceted. I need someone there that is going to be able to put people in these key positions because they cannot be everywhere. That one person cannot. So it has to be someone that is a strong enough leader that can hire people and empower people. If I hire you, I want you to do the job. And I need that person to hold those people accountable when they don't. It is not for that superintendent all the time to be everywhere because they can't. But I do want them to surround themselves with qualified individuals that are ready to do the job, that have the heart for it, that is what they are there to do. And then he or she needs to hold that person accountable. Also, we need someone that is able to work in and out of the community that is definitely multicultural. We have a community that is unlike anything else. When people say melting pot in the United States, they need to look at Killeen. It's here. We have everything here. So we've got to have someone that is able to move in and out of every circle possible. House, one of the largest military installations. I need someone that understands that is important to Texas. It is not just important to us. It's important to Texas and the United States of America. So we have to make sure that whatever we do, we are doing it to the highest level, that we are making sure that everything that we are putting out is that we're putting out America's kids, because that's what it is. They leave from here and they go everywhere. They come back here. I'm a product of Duncan Elementary. People don't even remember when Duncan Elementary is open. I'm sorry, I hate to even bring up my age. But my dad was in the military, my husband's in the military, I'm here with 2 kids, and I need people to understand that I left from here and went and did all kinds of things because I was a product of here. My sister left from here and went and did all kinds of things. We have to have someone that understands this community, whether they're here already or whether they're coming in. I need someone that is a strong enough leader to say, I understand, and I'm willing to listen.
Educator of 30 plus years, maybe look at someone with a business perspective or a military perspective that comes in and has the people and empowers the people, but is running the entire unit. You don't have to be an educator to run a district. I worked for a superintendent who had a business background. Initially, we were like, oh, he's going to last about a year. He actually lasted a long time, and he did a great job because he empowered people. He knew how to hire. He gave, well, as a director, resources and allowed us to make decisions. For this community, I'm going to piggyback on the military. If you've ever been to the Veterans Day Parade, if you look at our kids from the high schools that are marching, they're our future leaders in the military. They're here. So I think whoever we bring in, they need to have a multifaceted approach to how we're going to address the issues. Another thing I want to say for the first 90 days, don't be scared. Hold your directors and your executive directors and assistant superintendents, have them come in and do an assessment in those 90 days. Out of all the schools, which schools are not performing? Tell me why. What's the funding? Are we giving more to those campuses? Do they have additional staff? Don't be scared to ask those questions and do an assessment. But the person that we hire needs to be a true leader and not be scared to give the authority to others and make sure those others hold people accountable. That's the only way you're going to improve this district. But I'm telling you, go to a Veterans Day Parade and watch those kids that are in band marching through, the kids that are in ROTC. There are so many kids that it hits me that I'm like, this is our future. And I'm a product of this district too. So we can do it.
I'm not a product of this district, but I've been here for a very long time. And I think there are some people in our community that would appreciate me speaking up to say that not everybody is military. And the rich culture of the communities and the communities that make up the community, they are important as well and make up the flavor. I think we're looking here, community, you're from here, and you know about the Marlboro community. You know, I'll talk to people and they say, oh yeah, I went to school with him, and that's how we learn and know about one another. But military is important, that's how I got here. But the richness of the history of this community is important, and the people that are native to it. So we want to make sure that we respect and honor them as well, within the diversity and within the conversations as well.
That there is this other demographic of individuals who are not associated with the military. And the reason why I think that's important is because when I think a lot about those people, we're talking about social economic issues. And so it would be great for this oncoming leader to understand those issues and how the district in itself needs to approach the district with that information. And so I'm not going to break down, with the theory of sociology, but it's not being applied right now. But I think if we all had a better idea of how being aware of our demographic, being very well aware of our demographic, helps us tackle the issues that we're seeing. And so for me, I don't know what the exact or the proper verbiage would be to, put a single label on that. But I do think that this individual, it would be beneficial for them to understand socioeconomic issues, because that is a lot of what I'm seeing. In addition to when we talk about military families, we're talking about single-family households. So we think about single-family households, we might think of single mother, single father, they're divorced. That's not the case in a military family. I mean, it's the same idea, where it's a single-family household. And so this would be a family dynamic. So to have an individual who understands how these foundations affect children, I think we can better implement policies that allow us to navigate around these real-life issues, because when we hit them at elementary school, like someone else said, we are really planting the seed of greatness for these children. It takes work, it doesn't come easy, trial and error. But I think that basic understanding and having that deep knowledge will truly allow this individual to help us cater to the entire demographic that we're working with.
I think that, and I'm sorry for bringing this up, but this is why we're here now. Our district has been ran on a business perspective for years as a transactional district. And that's why our children have not been put first. That's why our employees are working 2 and 3 jobs. We need a superintendent who's going to be a servant leader, as I said, be a transformational leader, and transform our district into what it needs to be, which is putting our students, our community, our parents, our employees first, and not putting the ideals of himself first above everyone else, and building all these things and doing all these other things, because our district is not about the superintendent. It is about the students. It is about the community, the parents, the staff, and everyone else. We need a servant leader. We need a transformational leader, not a business leader.
One person to do a lot. So we really need that person to be able to get into the community, to know what they're doing. When we start talking about community, we also need someone that's able to reach across the aisle to our city governments, that they are willing to work together, because not everything can come out of the school district. I think it all also needs to be worked hand in hand with our city as well. And that person needs to be able, like I said, to be multifaceted, to move in and out of those circles and do what they need to do to be able to do that, because the school is about the education of it all. And so we really need them to get back to the education of it, so that we can involve those other entities that can help to take care of other mishaps and misfalls that are going on within our school districts and really with our students. So yeah, I do want someone that can reach across that aisle, that's going to work in tandem.
The survey, or any of the surveys, there's in multiple languages, I believe, not only English, of course, Spanish, Korean, and German. So that all of that information can be found on the district's website. There is a unique superintendent search page where all of the major milestones and the events related to the superintendent search are also linked there on that same page. And what I'll offer to do is I brought business cards with me, has my personal cell phone number on the card and my email. So if you feel more comfortable scheduling time to visit with me for a few minutes offline, happy to do that. We have other meetings that we're coordinating the rest of this week and next week. And then with the intention of sharing our summary of all of the information that we've captured, not only from the town hall meetings, the other stakeholder meetings that I referenced, but also the surveys. We can disaggregate the data and make this a public-facing document. So we will provide that update, that report publicly during the April 18th board meeting, and we will invite the Board of Trustees to ask us questions as a firm, provide our input and our feedback, and then we will then dive into the draft of the leadership profile, also inviting the Board of Trustees to provide us with any of their input and feedback. So the idea is that we're all going to sing from the same sheet of music. That's what I like to say. So we're on the same page. There's an agreement with where we are. We have our norms and our values aligned, and that way we can recruit the best possible superintendent to reach these desired hopes and aspirations. So that's our ultimate goal. To use the word transparency, we hear that a lot. This is my second town hall meeting to facilitate, and I can tell you with 100% certainty that there's a lot of common themes already being discussed amongst the different groups we're meeting with, both internally and externally. So we're identifying these themes that we can weave into that North Star, that leadership profile. So I like the direction that we're headed in, and we're excited about this. This is a coveted position. A lot of interest without having any formal profile available for public consumption, which is something to be very proud of. That's a point of pride for us. Your Board of Trustees is very supportive. They're giving our team, my team, a lot of goodwill to do this work and to create a space where you can share candidly what you're looking for. So I want to again thank them, and I believe I just saw your hand raised.
Just a quick question. Will the final draft of this profile be available for the public review when the board meets and everybody on the decide on what all the agenda is and everything?
Yes, sir. So the profile will be presented publicly, and that draft profile will be reviewed in an open meeting. And then once the final document, once we go through the review, we'll make some edits that night in real time, and I say we, my team. The next day, we'll provide a copy to the communications department, and we'll ask that they upload the final artifact, the summary report. And again, it's just a synopsis of everything we've heard from tonight's meeting, all the other meetings that we're hosting, the ones we will host next week. And that will be a public-facing document. It will be a PDF that you can look at online, in addition to some of the data that we'll be able to extrapolate from the surveys. And then also the leadership profile. So the intent is after the meeting on the 18th, we will open the application to receive the materials from the candidates. And so we'll begin screening and vetting candidates, recruiting talent. And what I often say is we're looking for talent, whether they're a superintendent, somebody who perhaps may not even be necessarily in the realm of education, whatever our charge is. Recruiting talent that isn't necessarily looking to leave, they're successful in their current role. So if you frame it in the manner of not running from something, but running towards something. And that's where we've had success. So if you know anything about our experience, our practice as a firm, I use a lot of sports analogies. So we're starting baseball season. I often tell people we're batting 1,000. We have never failed a search. We've done some of the largest superintendent searches in the country. And we're based here in Central Texas. We've recruited superintendent for Houston ISD, Austin ISD, San Antonio ISD, just to name a few. So we have the experience of working in some of the most complex organizations and most diverse communities. Also suggested the opportunity to meet with student groups. I've heard a lot about student-centric focus during the course of our town hall meetings this week. So we're creating a space to meet with students. So my staff members that were here today, my understanding is they were meeting with student groups. Externally, it's all of the above. So both as parents, as local taxpayers, alumnus, alumni, really all encompassing as many different groups as possible. Common practice for us, it includes other elected officials in the community. It could be city council members, civic leaders, business leaders. Faith-based groups are very important to also solicit their input and feedback. So really anything and everyone. Given the time that we have allotted, so I have a full-time staff that is solely dedicated on aligning schedules and determining the schedule that is conducive to meet your schedules. So I invite you to meet with us, and if you happen to send me a message, whether it's a text message or an email or a phone call, Jacob Wilson is our administrative chief, and Lizzie Curl is our chief of staff. They do a great job of creating a repository, a master list of these different meetings. And even that information will be included in the summary report, so you can see visually a representation of who we met with. So understand we're going to do everything we can in a truncated time frame for the remaining allotted time for this type of engagement. But even, let's just say, after the summary report, leadership profile are presented, we'll still make ourselves available to you in business. So don't feel like there is a hard stop. We'll do what we can to give you the opportunity to speak with our staff. I'm sorry, for the 18th? I do, it's on the website. Nolan Middle School, correct. She's the ombudsman, she's got it on. I have it on my calendar, but I'm recording this, so stop it. Thank you. All right, wonderful.
I've had some people ask, Nolan Middle School in Parker Heights, not the old Nolan Middle School in Killeen, the new one in Parker Heights.